Hi guys, hopefully a relatively short video, although I know I always say that and I'm not always short. So, a blade. Any style of fencing, doesn't matter whether you're a Japanese kendoka or kenjutsu practitioner, or whether you do Chinese Tai Chi sword, or whether you do modern sport fencing, or whether you do military saber like this, or you do long sword or sword and buckler, or anything, or rapier, or anything you can think of. A blade is a lever, okay, and it has portions to the blade which in historical fencing and modern fencing we know as strong, weak, and then essentially medium. Okay, some fencing masters today and historically divided the blade up into more than 3 parts. Some of the rapier teachers, for example, divided it up into, I think, 5 or perhaps even as many as 7 parts. I'm not by any means an expert on the Renaissance rapier systems, so someone can feel free to correct me on that. But you can divide it up into as many parts as you like. But essentially, it comes down to 3 parts: the strong, often known as the fort; the weak, which is often known as the foible, which in English gives us also the word feeble. Foible is essentially just an old-fashioned word for feeble, which of course means weak; and the medium, the middle ground. Now, with any blade, you've got to recognise that these 3 portions of the blade are good for different things. The foible, generally speaking, is for hitting people with, okay? You've got your optimum cutting part of the edge up here, at the sort of bottom of the foible and top of the medium, where the foible and the medium weak, and then meet, and obviously the thrusting portion of the blade is at the very end of the foible. The fort is best for defending with, okay? It's very strong, and in fact many swords are kept blunt down in this portion of the blade so that you can parry away with your edge. And I won't talk about edge and flat parrying because it's a boring topic, and I'll save it for another time. But lots of swords where you do edge parry, and yes, there is the majority of parrying in historical systems we know about is edge parrying. A lot of swords were kept fairly blunt or fairly thick down here, and obviously mechanically this is the most set up to take shock and absorb damage down here. Okay, so essentially why are they called strong and weak? Well, very simple to illustrate. If a person's holding a sword and I try and push the sword out of line by pushing here, I can't very easily. This is where I'm strongest, i.e. the person holding the sword is strongest and can resist the most. And for that reason, that is the portion of the blade best for parrying. You can absorb a lot of shock there from someone swinging a great big stick or a halberd or whatever you like, and you can take, even with a little one-handed sword, you can take a lot of impact there. This is called the weak or foible, very simply because if someone pushes against there, whoop, it's very easy to divert the sword. Not only because it's a lever, and that's my greatest point of leverage, further from the hand, and I can push the sword out of line most easily there, but also remembering, of course, that swords flex to some degree, so that even that accentuates that effect. So this is called the weak because I can resist the least there, this is called the strong because I can resist the most there, and this is called the medium because it's between the two, essentially. Okay, so very generally speaking, this is the bit for defending, this is the bit for attacking. Now, final appendix to the video, there is a caveat to that. This is a saber which has a hand guard. A medieval sword, European sword, or a Japanese sword perhaps, or Chinese sword, or swords which do not have a very protective hand guard, there is always a danger if you're always defending with this fort of the blade that you will get hit in the hands. And getting hit in the hands, as I hope everyone recognises, is a bad thing, because if you get hit in the hand, you may well lose some of your hand or lose the ability to hold your sword and therefore be killed soon afterwards. And so a lot of defences, in actual fact, with medieval European systems or with non-European systems where they don't have a handguard, actually they defend up in the medium of the blade, simply because it's safer. To use the word medium again, it's a medium ground between what's mechanically strongest and what's safest for your hand. Okay, but one thing to make sure you don't do in general is don't try and defend with the weak of the blade. There are some very specific fencing actions where you do use the weak of the blade to defend or beat or whatever, but generally speaking, pretty much all defences of the blade where you've got a closed hilt are done with the base of the blade, or if you've got a medieval or no hilt or very simple hilt, then you may defend more with the medium of the blade. Okay, I hope that helps a bit. Thank you.